was he operating his ice cream truck, if you will? Was he selling ice cream at the time?
He was indeed, yes. He still had his ice cream truck with him there on site.
Did the apartment have surveillance cameras or nearby businesses or even other nearby apartment complexes? Do they have surveillance cameras for you guys, footage for you guys to review?
Unfortunately, they do not. We've checked the area for video, and thus far there have not been any video located.
Do we know how much money was robbed from him?
We do not. It's not even certain if money was taken from him, but apparently demands were made prior to his passing away.
Did anybody see the suspects, or was anybody around when this happened, and who discovered him after he'd been shot?
There were quite a few residents that lived in the area. It was pretty much in the middle of the apartment complex, so quite a few people kind of saw the aftermath, and there were several witnesses that did see suspects, and a couple of the residents just happened to come up and locate him and tried to give assistance to him and called this in as well.
Do we have a description of the suspects?
At the moment, all we have is 3 young black males.
When he was in the hospital before he died, you said that he was able to tell you that it was 3 black males who robbed him. Did you guys get any more information from him?
No, that was the only information he was able to give. That was probably the best opportunity to interview him there, right there. When it initially happened, once he got to the hospital, he'd lost consciousness and was never able to be interviewed again after that.
Was he targeted because he was an ice cream vendor, like a food vendor? And I'm curious if robberies targeting food vendors have been an issue at all in that part of Austin or in the city in general.
I can't speak to the trends. I'm not sure on that, but it definitely does appear as though he was targeted. Obviously, vendors of that nature are going to have cash on them, so we believe he was targeted simply for the money he was carrying on him.
Do you guys know if the suspects left in a car or they ran away?
They initially fled on foot. It's possible they went to a vehicle, but the victim, I forgot to mention that part. The victim did kind of point, saying that the suspects had fled on foot from that apartment complex. They could have gotten into a vehicle shortly afterwards, but that's unknown.
Did officers know this vendor at all? I'm curious if anyone who's out there patrolling in that area, if they were familiar with this ice cream vendor.
I'm sure that they do. I don't personally, and I haven't spoken with any officers in particular that did, but the residents there said that he was definitely a regular and came around pretty often. Some of them said that their kids bought ice cream from him on a very regular basis.
Do we know how long the exchange was from when they started fighting to when it escalated to his getting shot?
We do not. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear yet, and there could be more witnesses that come forward. Like I said, it was the middle of the afternoon, so there were a lot of people that were there at the apartment complex. But so far, no one has said that they heard an argument or an escalation or anything like that. So we don't know the time frame necessarily on if it was all in a second or if it took a minute. We're not sure on that part.
What's your message to the community? I was there earlier speaking to some of them, and their fear, none of them wanted to be interviewed on camera. It's obvious that, they're fearful, and also they said that this is something that constantly happens in the area. They hear people being shot or people just firing their guns up in the air. What's your message to anybody that might have some information that's just afraid to come forward?
Sure. And this happens a lot, like you said. So the best way for this to stop is for witnesses who know something or have seen something to come forward and give that information to us so we can put these people, get them off the streets so they don't continue to rob vendors or people in general. And the best way to do that is with information that we know witnesses out there probably do have. whether they personally witnessed or saw something or know someone, we definitely encourage them to come forward. They can be identified or they can do it anonymously, but any information that they might have, we would love to hear from them. And I do realize witnesses can be reluctant in cases like this. A lot of witnesses of Hispanic background often tend to think that there's going to be an immigration issue or something like that. And I just want to reinforce that there's no issue like that whatsoever. We don't hold anybody, we don't question their where they came from or any of that stuff. We just encourage them to come forward with that information that we so need.
In that part of North Austin, we've heard before from neighbors who are concerned about crime rates, as well as I believe in 2019 as well, that area was a crime hotspot. So I'm curious if there's like the homicide unit or even the department in general, like, are you guys doing anything differently? Is there some sort of like an outreach or initiative program that's happening to specifically target the area to reduce crime?
In my unit specifically, we just deal with homicide, so I'm not sure as to the robberies and what type of programs or initiatives that there might be in place. There very well could be, but I'm not sure of those.
Last question. Okay, thank you all so much.